college football's in a really weird place right now. We don't know where a lot of coaches are going to go. We know a lot of coaches that are going to be fired, and I have a list of a couple teams and places that I think I'm going to rank throughout and see what is the best opening, what is the best college job right now. As now that we know that Dan Mullen is out, we know that USC job is available. We know that the LSU job is available. We don't know about the Texas job. We don't know about a couple of other places. And we don't know if any places are just upgrading at coach. Sometimes a program will realize that a better coach is looking around, like maybe a Lincoln Riley, and they want to upgrade a head coach. And I know this is very premature, and I might do a second video once the season's actually over with and if there's a bigger name that gets moved. But right now I feel like these are the names that are going to, throughout the entire offseason, these are the teams and the programs that are going to be making the biggest headlines. And I don't really see any other schools that are going to be on the same level of like importance to the college football world. But with dead last, the team that I'm talking about, dead last, I'm probably going to talk about the least, and this is more of just kind of making fun of it, because this team is as bad as UAB in like 2014 type of thing. Like, they are, I don't know how this is a college football program right now, and it's FIU. And this is probably the only time I'll ever talk about FIU. All I know is they play my college next year. And I'm only saying this to shed light on the fact that Georgia had to donate their 10-year-old pads to them. Or it may have been like just a little bit older pads, because I believe Georgia or Georgia Tech, some Georgia school gave them new pads because their pads were around 20 years old. And that is a disgrace. If you want to go to that program, I'm sure they're on Indeed looking for candidates, because my goodness, that's when I say total program rebuild, you are working down to the studs. With other rebuilds, such as like Florida, which I'll get into later, that's a rebuild in the sense that you have to get in new players. The infrastructure is there, but with FIU, man, like, this is, I don't know how this is a college football program right now. I don't know, and I don't know if there's any FIU fans, but I just needed to shed light on that program and how atrocious that is. To not give your player, like, I understand giving 3-year pads or things of that nature, but like, that is truly threatening the safety of your own players. At 5 right now, that FIU's dead last, but top 5 jobs right now, I would say 5, I got Washington. And I think Washington has the potential to be a bigger name school. I think it's the closest, it's a tier 2 school, dead in the middle of tier 2. It's a Pac-12 team. It has a lot of good history. I'm sure there's plenty of donors. Like, you're going to be able to get money with the school, but I do feel that they're kind of stuck in a no man's land of, like, some years they're good, some years they're really bad, and I think this year was a bad hire, and we knew it from week 1. I think if you get a coach to come in here and like revitalize the program, it doesn't feel like Washington right now has an identity, and it used to be defense. I mean, we had the defensive line with Washington back in the 90s, which needs to stop referencing the 90s, and people need to realize that's 30 years ago. But they used to have a really good passing game, and now, like, this program needs an identity. And if there's a big personality and someone that can almost do what Michigan State did this year and come in and, like, say, all right, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to win, and we're going to go do it, I think Washington's a really good job for that. At number 4, this might be surprising, being at 4 over a team like a Pac-12 team like Washington, I have TCU. I feel like TCU is set to explode if they get the right guy at coach. This is probably the most important pick for them in their entire program's history. I mean, you lose Gary Patterson, a guy that's been there since the BCS days. I mean, this guy has been there forever, and now you're moving on, and it's to the next chapter. It's almost like the Rockets getting rid of James Harden or getting rid of Hakeem Olajuwon. Like, you are losing a definitive piece of this program. It's like when Alabama would get rid of Nick Saban. I mean, not in the same level of success, but like for this program to go from so little to like now they're a Big 12 team. And the reason why I feel like they're above Washington is because the Pac-12 has other openings right now that I feel like candidates are going to be more lenient towards, versus in the Big 12 with Oklahoma and Texas leaving. I could see TCU trying to step in and make that conference theirs at whoever they get at coach. And you're in Texas, you have a good recruiting base. There's a lot of good positive things at TCU. I'm sure that their alumni network is building and growing, and that there's a lot of money in there. I do feel TCU is the better job right now than Washington. I feel like they're set up to succeed more than Washington right now. But real quick, Dion, please be the head coach for TCU. That's all I want in this world. I feel like I want Dion to have a real chance, not at Jackson State University. He's building something great there, don't get me wrong. But I want him to get like a big time coaching role to see if he can actually do it. And I think he can. I think he could recruit too. If your name's Deion Sanders and you have the legacy that you do, you can damn recruit, and I know that for a fact. Number 3, I have Florida. And Florida is a lot lower on people's lists than I think, or too high on people's lists, because this is, I believe, going to be a big-time rebuild. This program has a lot of money. This program has a big recruiting base. Florida, the state of Florida is wide open right now. Miami's not good. Florida State's not good. FIU is not good. UCF is they're going to be joining the Big 12, I believe. Right now, Florida's wide open, and the problem is Dan Mullen was such a big personality and a big time coaching hire that just wasn't getting the job done, and you're getting beat down by Georgia, and he's saying, like, him at the mic is just some of the roughest things you got to hear. I mean, to say that you don't recruit during the season is wild. What do you do during your bye week? I'm seeing Jimbo Fisher, Nick Saban, all these guys go out to these high school games during their bye week, let alone during the regular season. Recruiting is how you keep your job going. I don't know how, like, I understand he has been torched on social media for so long about that, but like, it is blasphemous that he even thought to say about something of that. Recruiting is it's a year-round job, and he knows that. Like, I have like all these pictures around, like, he fumbled the bag with Florida, and I don't know if it was play calling. I think it was not firing the right assistants and the coaching, and I mean, he's going to lose. Florida's going to lose a lot of recruits in this, and if this next hire comes in and is ready for a full-on rebuild, which it's going to be, an AR-15 is not a bad quarterback to start a rebuild with. Like, this is a solid enough rebuild, but there's some integral problems with Florida right now, and they're going to have to figure it out. It's not my problem, and I feel like these next 2 jobs, I honestly think these 5 jobs are all problematic, and that's fair because they had to get rid of their head coach. Nothing's going to be a glory. Like, I think TCU probably had the least messy of a fire on out of all of these. I mean, FIU, I put it on the list just for the laughs, but I really do feel that Florida is going to be a complete rebuild, and there's plenty of money to get it fixed, but it's got to be a culture-changing fix. You're not going to have a guy that's just going to sit there and be a great mastermind of a caller. Like, I feel Sarkisian is a great assistant coach, but I don't think he's a culture changer like Tom Herman was trying to do at Texas. And you're going to need a culture changer at Florida, and you're also going to need one at USC. USC needs... I think a lot of these programs need a big-time personality, except for LSU, which... spoiler alert, that's going to be the number 1 team. But USC gets talked about so long, and they get talked about everywhere you go. Fox Sports loves when USC's good. And I think college football is better when USC's good. But you got to get a guy that can recruit, and you got to get a guy that wants to have an identity with this program. And like right now, this program used to be an offensive powerhouse with a really solid defense. And they've been able to recruit quarterbacks. That's always been a USC thing. They will always have a California kid come in But this Pac-12 has always been kind of wide open. I mean, Oregon has dominated for recent years. Stanford has fallen off. I mean, the reason why I have Washington so low is because if you're going to go to the Pac-12, I think you got to go to USC. And USC has the biggest boom potential, and I don't think anyone has capitalized on it. Clay Helton was, I feel like, a little bit of a premature fire, but I mean, if you don't feel like he's the answer, he's not the answer. Like, if you feel that you need a bigger personality in the locker room, a guy that can come in and be a game changer, then go make that move. I'll never understand people settling for mediocrity, and especially in the sports world, but like, USC has the potential to really become a definitive staple in college sports, and I think they're closer to really becoming a boom program versus like a Miami. I'm looking at like the 2000s, the 90s, like these like classic college, like you think of college football, these are the programs that you think of, but they haven't really came back from that. I think USC is probably the closest to like definitively making a return to prominence in college football versus say like a Miami or a Washington or a any other program really that has won national champion. Nebraska. I think USC has the biggest chance to do that, but they need to make the right hire. Like, all these guys got to obviously make the right hire, but I think USC has to be very specific on who they want versus just getting a guy. And with number one, I think this is the best opportunity and maybe the easiest to come into. I don't know the details, but I think LSU needs an adult in the room. And I say that being that Orgeron was a great LSU guy for a short amount of time. And I think Les Miles was a great LSU guy. But the thing is I think LSU has so many personalities and so many like different things going on. Like, I don't know the detail. I haven't done my research on the I think it was bankruptcy that they were talking about with LSU not having enough money. This is why I don't think they're going to get Lincoln Riley. They're definitely not getting Jimbo Fisher. There's not a doubt in my mind they're not getting either of those guys. But come and get a guy that can settle down a locker room because there's talent all over this team. I just saw Elias Ricks go into the transfer portal. You need to limit transfers. There's no doubt that LSU has like talent. They went right up the head-to-head with Alabama, but with these LSU teams, it's other than the 2019 year and the 2 years in the 2000s, it's been kind of like wishy-washy in a sense that they have so much talent, but like, they used to be a power run team. They're like Alabama before Alabama learned to pass. And you had Joe Burrow come in and Joe Brady. You need a Joe Brady. You need an offensive mastermind to come in again or something. Like, this is probably the easiest job to come into because there's so much talent on the field. USC, I don't know if they have the talent on the defense. They do on the offense, that's for sure. But with LSU, I think there's so many pieces there that if you just put the puzzle together, you'll be fine. I don't think they need a culture changer. I think they just need a guy to settle the crowd down, and that alone will get them in the SEC West contention. I mean, they'll compete with everybody in there in the SEC West. There's not a doubt in my mind. It's just I don't know if Orgeron, with all the rumors about the women in his life and bringing them to practice, I think these kids that are transferring out there, they want to go to a guy that wants to be there to win football games versus bring women over and holler at them and things of that nature. I don't know the details of it, but those are the stories to be coming out about Orgeron and why he's leaving. I think that AD knows that, and they're going to make the right decision. They're gonna swing for the fences, and I know that. But I don't know if the LSU's the most glamorous job in the world, but it definitely might be the easiest to go into. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. That was my rough top 6 coaching openings. I feel that there might be more in the offseason, but I'm not really sure. This is just early looks into them. But